Hey everybody, it's Mac right here, and we're going to talk about multiplying rational expressions. What's a rational expression? Fractions, just what everybody loves. Now, I'm starting with multiplying and dividing in the sequence of this because you're going to find those to be actually pretty easy, I think. It's adding and subtracting where we're going to have to really think. Now, the cool thing about multiplying fractions, let's just go to stuff we learned in elementary school. If I have like 2/5 times 3 over 7, all you have to do is multiply the top and multiply the bottom, okay? And then reduce if you can, this one you can. Okay, so all you do is multiply across. Well, that's what I could do here, and I could go 10x and 5x, and then you have to ask yourself, can you reduce? Well, the x's cancel out, 10 divided by 5, and my answer is 2. Now, that's a long way. I want to show you a shorter way, okay? Anything when you're multiplying, now again, not equal sign. Equal sign is different. That's where we cross multiply. Here we're just multiplying. When you're multiplying, any factor, meaning anything being multiplied on top, can cancel out with anything on bottom. So these x's can cancel out anything on top to anything on bottom. And this 5 and the 10, 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 10 two. I'm just left with a 2 on top. And we can do them all like this, okay? So I'm looking at the 2. I see my a's right here. They can cancel out. I'm looking at my 4 and my 8 becomes a 1 and a 2. I'm looking at my 3 and my 9. That becomes 1 and a 3. Now, I'm going to make a mistake right now. This is the mistake that most people make. And my answer is, I just multiply across, it's 6. Well, no, it's not 6. It's 6 on the bottom. Remember, you still need an answer on top, okay? So make sure you put that on top and make sure that you don't mix that part up. Okay, here my y's will cancel out. 7 and 21, that'll become a 1 and a 3. And my 2 and my 4 will become a 1 and a 2. What's my answer? 3 over 2 is all that's left. Okay, or 1.5 if your teacher prefers you to not have mixed fractions. Okay, so now this one, I'm going to look and I can see that my m's are going to go away, but by m's. And I'm looking at 12 and 18. Well, 6 will go into both of those. 6 go into 12 twice. 6 will go into 18 3 times. Okay, and when you do that, as long as you're convinced that you're doing it right, fully cross them out or else it starts to get mixed up a little bit, okay? And so my answer here is going to be 3 over 4. Look at number 5. Okay, my n's can cross out. I have a 4 and an 8. That can become a 1 and a 2. I have a 3 and a 9. That can become a 1 and a 3. My answer is 1 over 6. Number 6, my p's can cancel out. 11 and 22, that's just a 1 and a 2. 6 and a 9, 3 will go into 6 twice. 3 will go into 9 3 times. My answer, now that I multiply across, is 4 over 3, or 1 and a third. Okay, if I keep going on now, watch this. I have x squared on top, x on bottom. Now, we had that whole section where we divided exponents, okay? And so when you see them, you subtract, and you keep it on the sign of the bigger. Or you think about this. I have 2 on top, I have 1 on bottom. That's going to leave me with 1 on top, and I'm just going to write it like that. Then I have my 4 and my 8. That's going to be a 1 and a 2. And my answer is just going to be 2x. Let's do a few more. If I have 2 y's on top and 1 y on bottom, I'm going to be left with 1 y on top. My 20 and my 10, that becomes a 1 and a 2. My 3 and my 9 becomes a 1 and a 3. It gets a little messy, and don't forget that y is going to be a 2y over 3. Let's go to number 9. I have 3 a's on top, and I have an a on bottom. The a is going to cancel out, and I'm going to be left now with an a squared on top. If I divide by 6's of my 12 and my 18, that's going to become a 2 and a 3. My 5 and my 15 is going to become a 1 and a 3. And my answer is going to be 3a squared over 6. Oh, look. Boom, boom. I could have done that too. I missed it. But if you miss it, that's okay, because you can always look at what's left over, and I'm going to get an a squared over 2 once I do that. Okay? Now, that's half of them. Let's go on to the next row. I have 2 m's on top. I have 1 on the bottom. That's going to leave me with 1 m on top. 7 and 21 is going to become a 1 and a 3, and my 4 and an 8 is going to become a 1 and a 2. What's left over? 3m over 2. See how I'm just canceling things out? It's fun. I have 2 on top, 1 on bottom for my n's. I like to do my variables first. That's an n to the first, or just an n. 8 and 16 become a 1 and a 2. My 9 and my 27 becomes a 1 and a 3. Now, all my numbers are gone on top, but don't forget I've got that n right there, and that's going to be n over 6, okay? Let's go on to number 12. I have 3 p's on top and 1 p on bottom. That's going to give me 2 p's on top, okay? Now, if I do my numbers, 25 and 10, it's going to reduce. 5 will go in here twice. 5 will go in here 5 times. If I do my 6s, 6 will go in there twice. 6 will go in there 3 times. I have nothing I can cross cancel. Now, if you can't cross cancel anything, it means that you're also going to be in the lowest term once you multiply across. So I'm going to get 4p squared, don't forget that, over 15. Okay, number 13. I have an x and an x. Now, let's take a look at this. Can I cancel out that x and that x? The answer is no. And this is where people get confused, so I'm going to try to explain it. You can only cancel out factors. A factor is something that's being multiplied. That x is not being multiplied, it's adding. Once you put a plus or minus, that's like a glue. It keeps them together. You can't cancel out. As soon as that plus and minus sign comes up, you're done. You can't do it, okay? Because that x isn't being multiplied by anybody. So it has to stay, and you're going to get x plus 2 over x minus 1, and you may not cancel the x's because those plus and minus signs are in the way. Okay, now let's look at this one. Here's how I'm going to write this. Instead of writing it out on top, I have that x squared minus 4. Let me not do that. I'm just going to do a 1 cross. I recognize that as a difference of 2 squares. Let me zoom in on this. And I can go x plus 2, x minus 2. Okay, now, these x's, they cancel out. We know that. Okay, now, look at these parentheses. Now, this is basically, that's a factor, and that's a factor. The whole thing's a factor. X is not a factor. 2 is not a factor. But x plus 2, that's a factor. The whole thing can be a factor. So because of that, I am allowed to do this. I can cross out an entire x plus 2, but it has to be the entire thing, okay? And so what's left over once that happens? X minus 2. We're going to be doing a lot of this in version B and C. Look at 15, difference of 2 squares, right? That's just x plus 3, x minus 3. These x's cancel out. Now remember, I can cancel out the entire parenthesis. I can't do a portion of the parenthesis. It has to be the whole one. And I'm going to get x minus 3 over here. And let's keep going. Now this one, again, difference of 2 squares. That's going to be an x plus 4, x minus 4. And I see I have an x minus 4 and an x minus 4. You can do all of it, but I'm not done. I have a 2x and an x. Well, I can cancel these x's. I'm going to be left with an x plus 4 on top. And on bottom, just a 2. Everything else is canceled out. Now, can I do the 2 and the 4? No, because that 4 is attached to a plus sign. If it was 4x, that 4 is multiplying by the x, yes, you can reduce the 2 and the 4. But once you put that plus sign on, that's like a glue. You can't get rid of them. Okay, let's do number 17. X squared minus 25. That's an x plus 5 and an x minus 5. Okay, now the entire thing can go away. And then right here, the x and x can go away. And look, I have a 3 and a 6. That can reduce to a 1 and a 2. What's left over? 2 parenthesis x minus 5. Now that brings a question. Can I then distribute that 2 across and get 2x minus 10? The answer is I could, but generally speaking, most teachers in what's considered kind of the fully factored form is this, because we want it in the form where things are being multiplied. That's what we normally consider to be reduced. So don't multiply it out once you're done. All right, this one, I can factor this out. Step number 1 is to fully factor everything you can, because you want to see how it looks like when things, see right here, there's no factors in x squared minus 36. That minus sign is there. It's just that whole thing. Nothing is broken down. Now, I've got 2 factors. I've got a factor. I've got a factor. Here I've got a factor. Those are both actually factors. Anything that's multiplied by something is a factor, okay? So, what do I have left? X plus 6, x plus 6. Oh, sorry. They have to be signs are different. Now my 4 and my 8, let me get rid of these f's. It makes it a little too confusing. That'll reduce to a 1 and a 2. and the x's, bye-bye. And I'm going to be left with 2 parentheses x minus 6. All right, that'll give you a taste. These are going to get a little tougher as we go on, but the whole point of this one was just to show you how to multiply across, okay? So step number 1 is to factor out when you have that, and once all plus and minuses are gone, or the pluses and minuses are in a parenthesis, then you can start canceling anything on top with anything on bottom. All right, this is one where you want to do all 3 versions. This is version A. Version B is going to get harder, and C is going to get even harder. So just because you learned A doesn't mean you understand it. So go on to B and C, and we'll see you guys there.